Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm gonna show you a 2017 Cambodian-American biographical historical thriller film called First They Killed My Father. Spoilers ahead. Sit back, relax and enjoy the video. The movie begins with a television broadcasting of the news showing multiple clips of the war against Vietnam. At the Ung household, the news introduces the Khmer Rouge, a communist party and rebel of Kampuchea, to every Cambodian responsible for bombing Vietnam and American forces in Cambodia to drive away the enemies. But as each day passes, hundreds to thousands of citizens die, and the destruction of their farms and livelihoods continues to damage the country. The Communist Party grows more worried that the enemies will continue to attack Cambodia, which leaves them no choice to resort to oppressing their own villagers and disregarding human rights. Pa Ung and Ma Ung, the mother and father of the Ung household, inform the family to pack up things for a 3-day supply and to only bring the necessities for the evacuation after the recent bombings of the Americans and Vietnamese citizens of Cambodia. The Cambodian forces arrive at the area to give hope and announce that the Americans are all gone. They inform everyone that they must evacuate to the countryside for 3 days before returning to their respective homes. But the Khmer Rouge abruptly stops their announcement as the American Marines are still in Cambodia waiting to attack the country to fend off the Vietnamese. The Khmer Rouge strips down and harasses the Cambodian military forces of their uniforms and takes their weaponry and heavy artillery to fend off the enemies. The family of Ung follows the other refugees, and Pa asks his children Geek, Cho, Kiev, Long, Kim, and Meng to get inside their family pickup as the Khmer Rouge forces instruct everyone to evacuate and leave the valuables as no one is safe and may be part of the collateral damage of the war against the Americans and Vietnamese. The rebels collect all the guns and food in the city to provide sustenance and support for the upcoming war. The rebels repeat the exact phrase to everyone it goes by: there will be no rich and poor in the new Cambodia and everything is for Angkar. As they reach the checkpoint, the communist group asks the refugees to leave all their unnecessary belongings, such as the clothes and money they carry. The rebels also instruct everyone to leave their vehicles, which will only slow the trip down, but the group intends to use the vehicles to make Khmer Rouge stronger. The checkpoint also separates all the possible government officials and fugitives to avoid enemies inside the campsite for safety measures. After 3 restless nights, Loung Ung, one of the daughters of Pa Ung, and Ma Ung if they can return to their house on the far side of the country, but they reply with a no, as they explain that their city is now inhabitable. Loung reminisces about the family's past experiences, showing a happy memory of a celebration of the Ung family on an unforgettable day. The following day, the rebel members woke up all the refugees to continue their travel toward other campsites for the refugees. As they walk along the path, they notice several abusive rebels towards the monks and order them to plant and harvest the rice fields while calling them parasites. As they arrive home, they notice the difference between life in the countryside and their lavish lifestyle in the city. They also see a familiar face that is riding a cow. It's their uncle Liang. He offers them to live at their house nearby the rice fields as they need more extra pairs of hands for the harvest. The Ung family accepts the offer and joins him on the way back to the house. Liang reminds Pa Ung that they need the permission of the village chief if they intend to stay in their house, as the village chief does not trust people from the city. Pa Ung then notices that his cousin also supports the Khmer Rouge's decision to make a new Cambodia for all the Cambodians with a communist ideology. The following day the village chief asks them to leave as one of the villagers complains about having another family to feed. Later that night, while the family is looking for a permanent place to stay, a truck of the Khmer Rouge passes by and lets them ride with them to the nearest campsite. As they arrive early the following day, the Ung family joins other refugees at the campsites. The rebels ordered the refugees to leave all their belongings once more before entering the small village. Again, they are trying to apply the idea of communism to the new Cambodia. In there, each family builds their own home with limited materials, but they need to utilize the materials that their home will suit their needs and will shelter everyone in the family. Each people at the camp has their own role in fulfilling. Older individuals hoe the land and create larger fields to plant the crops and trenches, while the younger ones focus on planting and harvesting the crops. They also require dyeing black or dark clothes to insinuate equality and cut all females' hair to a shorter length. Failure to comply with these rules will result in public humiliation. One night, a man is put to trial by using Western medicine to cure his dying son. The rebel leaders tie him up a pole and chant that Angkar wants all to be fair and one. The following morning, the rebels collect more crops and rice to deliver to the front lines to give them the stamina to fight the other forces, while the commoners eat foods that are less than what the rebels eat. Meanwhile, Kiev, Meng, and Geek are the new recruits to help the front line of Kampuchea as they request more manpower for younger civilians. As the new recruits leave, the group of younger women continues to harvest crops for the troops as Cho, the sister of Long, eats a bean while a soldier notices her. The soldier punishes her as it is a grave offense to eat the crops that are not intended for the commoners. But later that evening, Pa Ung gives the family the leftover food that he previously took while harvesting at the field. They hide the rice in a container to store more food, and they proceed to sleep after cooking and eating some bugs. The following night, Loung proceeds to have a delusion about eating her favorite foods. As she wakes up from the illusion, she moves to consume the rice in the container as she grows hungrier each time she remembers the delusion. The next day Pa Ung and Kim find out that the rice is now missing. Her brother hits Loung as he suspects her of the missing rice. But his father makes them console each other as they can depend only on each other. That evening, Loung notices that her mother is sick and compares what her mother looks like before the evacuation. The following morning, a rebel brings the bad news to them as Kiev, the older sister of Loung, is on her deathbed waiting for her death after contracting an illness with no medication available in the center. Just after a day, Kiev dies in the center as no medicine arrives for her. As the family is in a distraught state, Ma cannot focus and loses more hope that they will survive the famine that the war has been causing for the past few weeks. The next day, Pa is the next recruit to leave to help fix the bridge near the battlefield. Pa says goodbyes to his family, not knowing it will be his last. Loung asks her father to stay as she senses he will be in grave danger once he leaves. Later that evening, Loung gets a vision of her father dying in the hands of the soldiers. The soldiers throw his body in alongside piles of dead Cambodians. That same night, Kim sneaks into the field to steal some food, but the scouting rebels notice him and beat him up to teach him a lesson. As Kim returns, his mother cleans his wounds but later decides that the kids must leave. She then tells them to act like orphans as they reach another campsite. She gives them each memento to remember their family as she already knows that she cannot sustain them anymore in this type of place that is very abusive. The kids leave as soon as there are no visible guards in the area. The kids walk together before separating in the morning to the two separate campsites. Kim, Loung, and Cho notice a statue of a god and pray to eat for the safety of each other. As Loung and Cho stick together towards the left path, Kim goes the different way as they now separate from each other. As Loung and Cho are walking, the soldiers that are resting notice them and ask them what they are doing in the forest alone. They ask them where are the nearest campsites as they are orphans. The soldiers tell them to continue walking and follow a red flag that signifies that they are near the camp. A woman approaches Loung and Cho as they arrive at the field. They are given a place, food, education about the war, and a task to accomplish every single day. The rebels teach the children how to use guns, create bombs, and create more traps in this campsite. Loung and Cho quickly learn about the basics but are still trying to figure out how to do things properly. One morning, an officer calls to transfer Loung to the military training facility, leaving Cho at the rice field station. The officer's demonstration follows a pair of young soldiers fighting each other to prepare them for incoming close-range attackers. Loung notices a large batch of children carrying guns to train for the war. The officer teaches the kids how to be merciless towards the aggressors of their country. The following day, Loung goes to another military session that teaches the young recruits to assemble and shoot a gun. The officer teaches them what stance to use and what stance will give them a better aim. They are also learning each day how to place and where to place the traps for the invaders to their camp. During a lunch break, Loung asks the officer to give her some time to visit her sister, but she visits her mom at the other campsite instead. But there is no one at the campsite to welcome her return. An old lady approaches Loung and informs her that the soldiers took everything a few days ago and killed everyone that is weak. She sadly returns to her current campsite and trains with her fellow young recruits. Later that evening, Loung hears bombing noises and thinks she is dreaming, but she suddenly hears her officer screaming to tell the young recruits to evacuate to the woods. Some recruits try to fight the enemies, but some are dying as they are still young and unprepared to fight. Loung goes to find her sister Cho, but she fails to find her sister as everyone is panicking to escape the burning field. The following day, Loung reunites with Kim and Cho in a walk of refugees. They survey an old area where they find a free chicken roaming around. They also find a metal container where they put the mementos that their parents gave them before separating from each other. Loung, Kim, and Cho join the refugee walk once more, only to be part of the Vietnam resting camp for all the refugees after the attack last night. Hundreds of dying people are in front to welcome the refugees. While another group of young refugees invites them to join their tent as they gladly accept and shares the chicken with them. After a long rest from an attack, as soon as they wake up, the bombing of the Khmer Rouge commences, freeing the refugees. Many individuals are hurt as the firing of bombs and guns continues. The young siblings survive as they hide from the back of a soldier. Some of the shooters from the Khmer Rouge are in the same unit as Loung's training mates. Later, after running to escape, Everyone enters a tight area in the forest only to be hit by the traps previously placed by the young soldiers of the Khmer Rouge. Loung remembers the placements and follows the other people's trail to avoid the bombs. But everyone is panicking and steps at the bombs surrounding her, detonating one by one. Loung calls her siblings, but they are not in the exact location as Loung. She sees everyone dying as they pass by the traps and landmines in the forest. She is now in tears as she remembers that she is one of the soldiers responsible for placing the traps and killing the escaping refugees as they keep stepping on the ground. The movie time skips after the attack and attempts to rescue the refugees from the Vietnamese. Everyone in the camp sets up their tents to shelter themselves from the cold weather. Loung, Kim, and Cho are all safe from the landmines and continue to create more shelter for themselves, and suddenly a man shouts to inform everyone that there is a captive Rouge soldier from Khmer Rouge. Loung approaches the crowd, and suddenly everyone starts punching the rogue soldier as a way to express their anger that killing their loved ones while attempting to escape from the war. She gets flashbacks from the time of their training at the campsite that builds up her anger towards the crowd, making her remember her dad, that is dead at the hands of the enemies. She screams in agony as she sees her father from the image of the rogue soldier and leaves after everyone is leaving the traitor at the sun to die. The movie ends by showing the next few days after the village encounters the traitor. Loung is surveying the area to distract herself from missing her family members. Suddenly, a happy reunion occurs as Loung's family reunites at the new campsite. Geek and Leng survive the front and join Loung, Kim, and Cho. A significant time skips to the present of the rest of the young family survivors are praying with the monks at a temple showing how grateful they are to have each other after losing their parents and Kiev at war at a very young age. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this to help the channel out. Have a nice day.